The biggest shake-up to PAYE, pay as you earn, in nearly 70 years is about to happen. Winston Churchill was Prime Minister when it came in, and today there are twice as many people as in 1944. And of course, in those days, most people stayed with the same employer for their entire working lives. Well, those days are gone, and soon the old way of collecting PAYE will be gone too. I spoke earlier to Ruth Owen, Director General of Personal Tax with HMRC, and Tax Advisor Adrian Huston, and Ruth explained what is changing and why.
The main thing that's changing is that we're moving to real-time reporting for businesses who collect PAYE from their employees and report it through to us when they pay their tax. So
when did they used to report it in the old way?
Yes, so what we're moving from is a system that basically we would get end-of-year reconciliations from businesses on an annual cycle. We're now moving to reporting deductions to HMRC every time an employer pays their employee.
Does that mean you get your money more quickly?
It's not about the money, actually, because the payments remain at the same cycle. It's about information. So PAYE records, HMRC records become much more up-to-date and much better data that we can work off.
Is it a necessary change because of the way people's working practices have changed?
I think you described it very well in your opening sentences, really, that people's lives, the workforce, has changed, and trying to catch up at year end means that HMRC data is always out of date by the end of the year. So we're trying to make sure we're keeping up with the changes in the labour market.
So as an employee, do you have to do or know anything, or is this really for employers?
This is all for about employers. You don't need to worry at all if you're an employee.
But if you actually are a small business and you're employing people, you know, it's different, say, a big corporation like the BBC or something, they've got a payroll department. But if you're a small employer...
Yes, so if you're a small employer, you need to get ready for RTI. It starts on the 6th of April this year, so we're trying to do as much as possible to help businesses prepare themselves and be ready for implementing real-time reporting from April.
Will it cost these small employers money? Is it going to be a different way of reporting? Will it require new equipment, new software?
It could. All businesses need to make sure their software is up to date and ready for real-time reporting. For some, that will just mean a free upgrade to the systems they're already operating. For others, it might mean buying in new systems. For others who might use, say, an accountant, that really will depend on how their accountant or their agent chooses to charge.
So there are still things to think about for quite a lot of people. Adrian Huston, Tax Advisor, do you foresee problems?
I'm afraid, Linda, I foresee massive problems with this system, particularly with the smaller employers. Large employers who have computerised payroll systems and HR departments to handle them, well, if they do a payroll run and produce a lot of pay slips or a lot of payments to staff, it's an easy add-on for them to push that down the telephone line to HMRC and notify them of the pay. The problem arises with the smaller employer, let's say with up to 20 or 30 staff. They have to make this report to HMRC every single time they pay someone. And say they're paying people weekly, waiters in a restaurant, for example, and their pay varies every week. They have to put that all into an electronic report to HMRC once a week. And if they pay an accountant or a payroll agency to do that for them, then instead of maybe tidying things up once a month, that's now going to have to be done weekly. It's a massive burden for the smaller business. And it could end up quite expensive for them because they'll probably end up having to get software, whereas they maybe did it before without software.
Ruth Owen?
Well, I think most businesses these days do use payroll software or an agent. We recognise that small businesses will need help in introducing real-time reporting, and we're here to help them with that. We've listened to what small businesses have told us, and for example, in the example that Adrian's used, where people are being paid weekly, we've tried to introduce easements so that they don't have to actually report earnings as and when people get paid. But generally, it is the practice that when an employer pays an employee, they put that in their software records in terms of how they run their payroll. So we're hoping to keep it as simple as possible to align paying and reporting tax alongside how you actually pay your employees anyway.
I read in your statement that you want to help and support all businesses to make the change, so you will not be imposing any penalties for in-year late reporting till 2014. That suggests to me that after 2014 there will be penalties.
There will be penalties after a year, so we're hoping to use this next tax year as a learning year and to recognise this will be new for business, and we will be there to help. And if people need our help, they can go to our website, which is www.hmrc.gov.uk/RTI, and there's lots of help on that website. So we do recognise this is going to be new, and that's why we've chosen not to impose penalties for people in the first year. Beyond that, I think it's reasonable, therefore, to expect people to have got used to the new way of reporting.
Adrian Huston, do you think people will be used to it? Do you think it's going to be too big a burden on a small employer?
Well, it's certainly a significant burden because even if they pay someone else to do their payroll, chances are they're going to have to pay them extra because they're going to have to do it once a week. I mean, it's a big issue for an accountancy firm. They're going to have people on hand every Thursday or every Friday to do the payroll. It'll certainly need the full year for people to get used to this. There will be a massive amount of teething problems with the smaller businesses. And I'm very glad to hear there are no penalties for the first year, and I hope that HMRC makes special efforts with smaller businesses who are clearly not managing well to help them so that by the time we get to February and March of 2014, the business has been helped and supported and coached and therefore is able to start the new year on the correct footing and therefore not incur what could be some rather nasty penalties.
So what would you like to see, Adrian?
Well, the HMRC is doing some workshops. I think they need to do a lot more workshops. So they're actually offering to bring people into a tax office or a local conference centre to be shown how this all will work, to be given phone numbers for helplines to sort things out if they're not sure, and to be talked through HMRC's own free software, which, while rather limited, is at least available as a no-cost solution if you're employing, say, up to maybe 10 people. So that there need to be a lot of workshops available. HMRC is starting to do a little bit more on YouTube, which is great, and obviously their website. But their website is far from good, and I just hope the RTI side of it is better than their typical website.
I hope you find it is, Adrian. Please have a look.
Are there workshops happening in Northern Ireland, Ruth?
Yes, there are. They're right around the country.
How do you find out about them?
You can find out on our website.
And indeed, we'll put a link up from our on your behalf website exactly to that point. In the meantime, if you're an employer and you're getting a bit worried hearing all of this, what do you need to do right now, Ruth?
I think the first thing to check is your software ready for RTI from April? If so, make sure that your data is a good state to use that software. And secondly, if you use an agent, then talk to them urgently and make sure that they're ready to handle your payroll for you.
And the message to employees is it does not affect you. Do nothing.
Do nothing. Do not worry.
Do check your tax code, though.
Oh, indeed. Everybody still needs to check their tax code. That's separate from RTI, of course.
Ruth Owen of HMRC and Adrian Huston, thank you both.